Welcome back to Truck and Talk. I'm Stephanie Valle, and today we're talking about the power of community, partnership, and making a difference close to home. Joining us today is Alexa Velasquez, the director of Children's Miracle Network at El Paso Children's Hospital Foundation. Through Children's Miracle Network, Alexa helps raise critical funds that support pediatric care, specialized services, life saving equipment, and programs that improve the lives of children and families throughout our region. And we're also excited to have El Paso Children's Hospital Foundation as the beneficiary of this year's MVT Pay It Forward Golf Tournament, making this conversation especially meaningful. Alexa, thanks for joining us.
I'm super excited being here. Thank you for inviting me.
So before we start our conversation, we're going to get into some fuel for thought. So first of all, healthcare impacts every family at some point, but many people never realize how much community support goes into making specialized care available close to home. From your perspective, why is local community involvement so important when it comes to pediatric healthcare?
It's so important because a lot of people do not realize that a children's hospital needs the community. It's a non-for-profit. They might think, it's a hospital, they're rich, they have a lot of money, but in reality, it's a non-for-profit. So everything that we need, it's thanks to the community, the donations, the events, the campaigns. So it's something that we try to extend that message to the community and say, it's our hospital, it's your hospital, and we need it.
Mm-hmm. And also, when you're talking about serving children, you're really also serving the family because the parents are also very much involved and practically live at the hospital at the time the child is there.
And not only the parents directly, grandma, grandpa, we're Latinos, majority of us, and the whole family goes and visits the patient, the siblings. So it's just very interesting whenever you're inside and you see reality behind those doors, behind the patient room.
And what do you think would surprise people most about the impact that a single donation can have on a child and their family?
It's just that we are keeping our families here at home without having them to travel miles and miles to a dedicated children's hospital. That El Paso Children's Hospital, it's 100% a children's hospital.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for your perspective on that. So let's start with your story, Alexa. How did you get involved with Children's Miracle Network?
It's very interesting. I come from media advertising, and back then, 12 years ago, I was a sales rep for a media station, and actually El Paso Children's Hospital was my account. So we were just my colleague back then. I had the account. I received a call. And he said, I'm like, perfect, another sales, right? Let's sign that 6 more months. But actually, he's like, close the door. And I'm like, okay. So we were on the phone and he tells me, I have a job. It's perfect for you. So he told me what it was about. And honestly, I said, I'm going to be doing the same thing I'm doing. I'm doing sales, but for a mission, a bigger mission than just a business growing. It's going to have an impact to the community, to the families. And I did my research a little bit and I said, you know what? Sign me in. I'm all for it. And I've been doing it for 12 years. I love it. I'm excited. I get to build those relationships. I get to give back to the community. I get to help those that don't know how to help. And I'm just very passionate about it.
So you mentioned that you did some research and that's what prompted you to make the move. So what was it about the research that you did about children's that prompted you to get into this line of work?
The main thing that it says 100% of your donation stays local. Not a lot of organizations have that flexibility that to be able to say whatever you're giving, it's not going anywhere else. It's not going to corporate office. It's not going outside the city, staying locally. So I think that's what got me, And funny thing, back then we had done a radiothon. And we were at the hospital. I was with the media station and I wasn't too aware of it, But then later on, I'm like, oh, I was on the other side and now I'm on this side and I get to plan it. So yeah, that's basically how it started. And I said, I get to help kids and their families. And you never know when you need it. It was brand new. The hospital had just opened its doors. So.
And was there something about working with the children and the families that also inspired you? And what was that?
Their story just to know the impact, knowing how much they had trouble couple of families that I have met, they had to travel outside of El Paso. That means they need to leave their little ones or their older kids behind. They lose their job because they can't be traveling. And it's just that connection, that story, that testimonial directly from the families, and that makes you want to do what you do.
Mm-hmm. So can you tell us about your role as the director of Children's Miracle Network?
My role as the director, I fundraise and do brand awareness year round. It doesn't matter if the beginning of the year, end of year, there's always something happening. There's always an associate behind the register that says, we like to donate. We like to round up your change. My job is to educate them. My job is to let them know exactly what that donation is, because you as a customer and you ask that cashier, yes, but where's it going for? I will want that cashier to know exactly what that dollar is going, where, what's the facility, and it's just educating. So my job is to do fundraising and brand awareness.
Mm-hmm. And what does a typical day look like for you?
It's always something different. There's always a campaign happening. So there's always, Alexa, we need more icon balloons. Alexa, we need incentives. Alexa, can you come to a meeting, or can you do a podcast? So it's always different. And that's what I love. I am not a person to sit in an office. I like that relationship. I like to meet different partners and just learn of other businesses and how they're willing to support the community. So it's just planning events, planning campaigns, planning presentations. I mean, you name it, helping families. I get calls from families and says, hey, this is what's going on. Can you help me? So I try to be that middle person to give them that answer they're looking for.
So for those unfamiliar with Children's Miracle Network, what is the mission of the organization?
Fundraise and brand awareness. Simple as that. We are trying to raise $1 at a time. That's basically, if not a couple of cents at a time, and just make sure that people recognize the name, that recognize Children's Miracle Network, and know that it goes to El Paso Children's Hospital. We're just the national name for our local hospital. We are a member hospital of CMN, and my job is for them to let them know that whenever a cashier asks you, we like to donate to Children's Miracle Network, they recognize and says, oh, yes, it's the hospital off the freeway. So Children's Miracle Network, 100% for our local hospital.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I would really like for you to dive more into how Children's Miracle Network works alongside the El Paso Children's Hospital Foundation.
Exactly. So Children's Miracle Network, it's just a program under El Paso Children's Hospital Foundation. We are a program and that has the benefit of being able to have corporate partners and other businesses tied to the network and support. But it's the same entity. We go hand in hand and we support the same mission.
And that's also good to point out, because I'm sure that people, when they see, like you said, Children's Miracle Network, they associate that with a national brand. So it's really important for you to emphasize that this is helping the hospital and it's supporting the foundation that supports the hospital. So it's all working in conjunction.
Exactly. It's just one family. It's just a big umbrella, and recognize that El Paso or any other, there's 170 Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and every hospital has that they support their local hospital. So not like many organizations could say that.
Mm-hmm. And the foundation serves more than 200,000 children and families annually throughout our region. So what does that impact look like in real life?
It's more than a number. Honestly, it impacts that reality from the family, the need that they have got. Nobody expects to go to the hospital. Nobody ever thinks that your little one's going to be at the hospital during a holiday, during a birthday, graduation. So all of that is just impact of what we're able to help those families and their little ones.
And I'm sure that when people understand that they're helping real people, that inspires them to donate. So are there certain stories that you would want people to know about, certain examples of families who were helped?
Do we have time?
Of course we have time.
It's crazy. Every year I select, the program. We have a local champion, what we called our Miracle Family. They help me advocate for the hospital. They help me share their story. it's easy for me to tell you, Stephanie, donate to Children's Miracle Network. It's the best organization, right? But there's nothing like the story behind of that patient. So there's a lot. Today we celebrate 5 years of one of my former Miracle families cancer-free.
Wow.
And I mean, you get to meet those families. I mean, I met her since she was maybe 9, and now it's incredible to see the growth, and you just staying connected with them, learn, celebrate their achievements. So it's just many stories. I mean, I seen stories when we're doing that recording in one of my former patients from last year, actually, my Miracle family, he had an episode during recording. And I said, that's reality.
An episode, meaning,
He had a little seizure attack.
okay.
I can't pronounce that word.
Epileptic seizure?
Epilepsy, yes.
Okay.
And we had to cut the video. We had to say, let's pause it. This is what the family goes through daily. And that just opened my eyes more and say, hey, I'm just a little thing to help this family. And I get very emotional because I just love that I'm able to help them, you know. And that same family called me today and shares more about their what they're going through. And for me, it's not a job. For me, it's actually going and supporting.
Yeah. I appreciate that you show how vulnerable you are to the emotions, because it is emotional work. These are people's lives, and I would say no need to apologize for that. And thank you for being so passionate about your work. What are some of the biggest needs that are facing pediatric healthcare today?
Their biggest needs, I will say, it's that equipment, that keeping our families here at home. We're celebrating 15 years of our existence at El Paso Children's Hospital, and people don't realize how expensive. I mean, we do realize how expensive, right? But a medical equipment, we want the best equipment for our families so we could care for that patient without having to send them to Albuquerque, to Austin. So it's just amazing to know that your donation, no matter how big or small, it goes a long way.
And when people donate, where do those funds typically go?
It goes to family programs, medical equipment, any priority that the hospital sees that it needs towards the family, towards the patient, to give them the best treatment possible.
And you mentioned the campaigns are usually in retail. I'm sure we've all seen them. And if people are like, I don't know what $1 can do, can you talk a little bit about that?
$1 goes a long way. I always share my same stories, but it's just incredible, the impact. Hopefully everybody has said yes to round up your change. That's not even $1. That could be 30 cents. But those 30 cents, our funds are unrestricted, which means that everything accumulates. So maybe you donated 30 cents here and there, but that added up to buy that necessary equipment that we needed. So a little piece of everyone supports and goes a long way.
And can you tell us about some of the programs, services, and equipment that Children's Miracle Network helps fund, and how those investments improve patient care?
Yeah, definitely. Just last year, we were able to purchase, on top of my head, I could think of 3 of them. One of them was the Cinema Vision goggles. Those are for our patients to go into an MRI procedure and not have to go through anxiety or worried over anything. And they get to watch a movie. They get to watch a movie while they're doing their procedure. And sometimes they cry because they can't finish the movie. So for us, it's like, yes, we want to be able to give that calm to the parents as well as the little one. We are also supporting another echo ultrasound system where the doctor gets to see the baby's heart when the baby's still in mommy's tummy. So that way they get to treat them if anything's happening, right? They get to treat them earlier in time without having to wait for the baby to get born. I mean, there's a lot of equipment and it's expensive. It's expensive, but thanks to the donations and thanks to the foundation and Children's Miracle Network, we're able to purchase that necessary equipment. And one of the programs that we also support is Child Life program. Child Life supports the patients, and you mentioned right now the parents as well as the siblings, to ease them, to tell them exactly what they're going through. And that could be through play, that could be through art, that could be through different ways to get to the kids' mind and understand them what is it that they're doing at the children's hospital.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying about the Cinema Vision, it's just one example of the kind of equipment that you need in order to treat the youngest patients, because these are not people who you can rationalize sometimes with. You
Oh,
know,
no.
they're young, they're scared, and so you have to make these exceptions to make sure that they're comfortable in order to treat them.
Exactly. And give the parents that ease of calm as well, because you don't want to see your kid going into that little tunnel and him or her crying and mom and screaming, like that's painful for you
Mhm.
to know that that's the best for your kid, but that your kid doesn't want to go through that. So, I mean, simply putting those goggles, putting whatever their best movie is, and they just get to enjoy. And I mean, the procedure goes fast for the kid.
Mhm. I want to go back to a point that we were talking about earlier about how all the money stays here locally. I know that a lot of people probably don't think about that. So I would love for you to talk about why it's so important for the community to know that every dollar is staying here, but it's also important that every dollar is staying here. Can you talk about that?
Yes, 100% of the donation does stay local, and it's important because it's our community, it's our hospital, it's our own ways of seeing our city getting better. I mean, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, you couldn't say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to take my little one to El Paso Children's Hospital." You will say, "You know what? I have to go travel outside of El Paso and get the treatment for my kid." Now, that donation stays local, and I appreciate everyone that makes that donation. And sometimes they mention certain charities, and I say, thank you, but it doesn't stay local. What better way than you be proud that you're supporting here locally? I mean, we are a community that it's like family. We know someone. So eventually we know one patient, we know one nephew, one niece that went to the hospital. And it doesn't have to be because of big diagnosis or anything. It could be simply they ate a lot of candy and their tummy hurts. So we know someone we could share that story and say, yeah, I supported the hospital. It helped my neighbor's prima and cousin and so on. So, I mean, I'm just proud to say they have asked me, would you go work for another charity? Right now, I could easily say no, but I mean, I'm just so happy that this organization exists because what better way than giving back to our own community?
Hmm. I remember a time before Children's, and yes, all the stories were of people having to leave town for treatment. Can you give us an example of a family who before Children's would have had to leave for treatment, but now they can get treated here?
This family, I mean, very young, her two daughters, one of them with cancer, the other one was her bone marrow transplant donor, and just having to go to those treatment constantly. I believe it was Pennsylvania. I might be wrong,
Oh, wow.
but just that's far.
Yeah.
That is far. So once we opened our children's hospital, once we became certified for the oncology group to take care of cancer, we started that campaign here. We started keeping cancer patients here at home because we want people to understand that they don't have to go to another famous hospital that is well known because they see it everywhere. That's part of our job to make them aware of our hospital. And she is one that shared a story and said, we went, we needed help, and they denied the help. We do not deny help for anyone, no matter what type of cancer, no matter what kind of insurance you have, illegal status, anything. So this family opened my eyes more in sharing their testimonial and saying, you know what? Yes, Children's Miracle Network is a good one. It's a good organization. So now they were able to get all their treatments here. Obviously, they still have to go or had to go outside of El Paso for different kind of visits to another hospital. But it wasn't like they couldn't get something here in case of an emergency.
Right.
The other one was just kind of follow-ups from the treatments that they had done previously. But I mean, we had kept our families here at home by 85%.
Wow.
Now our families have an option. And not only the main hospital, our clinics. We're growing far east. We're growing, eventually we're going to grow one here on the west side. So that's just says that, I mean, the more you're able to donate, the more we will be able to help and open those clinics, because we'll be able to provide that equipment that it's needed.
hmm And a lot of people don't realize that certain programs and services are not fully covered through traditional funding sources. So, how does the community support help fill those gaps?
One of them, it's basically Child Life. That program, Child Life, it's 100% thanks to our donations. And we have specialists at the hospital that get to interact with that patient. And as I was mentioning earlier, they tell them, this is where we're going to go in and put the port to give you that treatment, or we're going to go ahead and do this. The sibling is there. This particular family that I was talking about, that patient, her sister was with her 24/7. And it was in a patient room where she couldn't be near her, so she wasn't just in a little hallway. So Child Life will come and interact with the sibling as well, to
Yeah.
give them that ease. And you're next to mommy, you're next to your sister, and here's a little play for you. So those programs are needed by donations, in order to be able to help those kids.
So, you mentioned a couple times Child Life. So, tell us about Child Life.
Child Life is one of the programs that many hospitals need. I will say Child Life is a program that a lot of hospitals, children's hospitals, has. And that is to support the kids, as I mentioned, through play. They just go and interact with the patient. Sometimes mom has to go back to work. So there comes Child Life, and they have different activities for the kid to entertain them and keep them busy and not have them just there in their own patient room. So Child Life, it's a program that thanks to donations, if you have rounded up your change at Panda Express, they are able to support that program. It's different pillars. It helps health. It helps the mental health. It helps spiritual. It helps just different areas that sometimes we don't even think about it. If you go through grieving, how do you tell your little sister, or how do you tell your younger daughter, your sister's no longer here? So through Child Life, they're able to communicate in a unique way and give those unfortunate messages to the loved ones.
Yeah. So, it helps them navigate difficult situations in a way
Difficult
that,
situations through fun activities in a way.
yeah.
Sometimes when they go and get their chemotherapy, they just go ahead and play with them a little bit, show them through different scenarios, like a chemo duck that we have, or the different dolls, and just says, hey, we're going to go ahead and poke here, because that's similar to what the nurse is going to do to you. So they just demonstrate to something else, and then it will go to them.
Okay. So, I don't want to make you cry again, but what has been one of the most memorable moments that you've experienced through your work?
There's a lot, but that one in particular that I shared while we were doing their story, that one just hit me, because it didn't only happen that one time. It happened during our recognition luncheon. As we were going to present this family to come up stage as our miracle family, the kid had another episode, and that it's like, wow, parents, in particular, those parents go through so much, and we don't see it. And they're willing. I'm like, hey, can you come and help me with this kickoff? Can you come in? Yes, Alexa, we'll be there. Yes, we'll be. And I'm like, man, they already have so much on their plate, but yet they're advocating for the hospital and the importance of the hospital. So that's just one. And I have another family that mom, I'm like, she's amazing. The way that she's able to carry her child, and her child is 13, she spent recently 6 weeks at the hospital. And mom doesn't give up. And it's just like the superpower mom that you get whenever your child is at the hospital. So all of those different stories and many, many more.
So, what keeps you motivated, Alexa, in a role that can be so rewarding but also emotionally challenging?
What keeps me going is knowing that there's a lot more to do here, that there's a lot more people in our community that are unaware of our organization. What keeps me going is those families that I meet on a daily basis. What keeps me going is just simply knowing that we are just starting. We're just starting and we have a long ways to go. I have a 4-year-old son, and eventually this is going to be his kid's hospital. You know what I mean? This hospital is brand new still, and it just, I see other hospitals and I'm like, we could do that too here in El Paso. I want to do that here, you know? So that's just my motivation, just seeing that not because we're considered small market, small city, that I mean, we have a long way to go.
Yeah. So let's talk about the partnership now with MVT. So what does it mean for organizations like Children's Miracle Network to have support from companies in the community?
I mean, that's just reaching to a new associate, to a new employee, to a new person that will put our name out there. So partnering with MVT, it's just another door to our organization for the brand awareness. Eventually, people are going to talk among themselves and say, oh, yeah, my kid was at El Paso Children's Hospital. And for me, that's already the message out there, that they're going to be motivated in helping us. And that's just growing. You know, that's one more of many more that we need to check. And I just want to appreciate that we have been able to connect with MVT, and they're now our family. They're part of the network. And I'm just excited.
Yeah. So how did you first learn about the MVT Pay It Forward Golf Tournament?
Thanks to our marketing department. We always do brainstorm about what else can we do, what else is out there. So that's how I learned. And I said, where can I sign up? I want to see if we are able to be part of it, you know? So it's amazing. 10 years. Congratulations to the team. I mean, they've done a great job, and we're just happy that we'll be able to work together this year and support a lot more families.
So what excited you most about this opportunity to become this year's beneficiary?
Being able to get in front of thousands of people. I mean, just recently I was part of their appreciation event, and I mean, it's a lot of people. So that for me, I'm like a walking billboard. So for me, it's being able to put our name out there into those staff, to that staff. It's just very important, because eventually, maybe next time that they're asked, we like to donate, they recognize the name and they'll say yes.
Mm-hmm. And the tournament is much more than a day on the golf course, as you indicated. So from your perspective, what kind of impact can an event like this have?
That they recognize our name. That simply says it all. I mean, even if they don't participate at the golf tournament, even if they just volunteer, just by simply volunteering and hearing our story, getting to meet our families, I mean, that for me says a lot. So, I mean, it's a fun day at golfing, but then it's also a lot of sharing our story.
Mm-hmm. And why is it important for supporters to hear directly from the Miracle families and to see the impact of the programs that are funded?
Because maybe they will be able to connect. Maybe they will be able to understand better from that family directly, you know, and say, wow, you're going through what I did. Or, wow, I'm not alone. You know, maybe they'll share that story, and they get to recognize that, I mean, it's more than just a simple building off the freeway, and there's a lot of stories going inside.
Yeah, it's about the connection,
The
right?
connection.
Yeah. So what would you like every golfer, sponsor, and volunteer to understand about the difference that they're making?
First of all, the difference is that they are supporting Children's Miracle Network by simply saying yes into whatever it is that they're supporting, and that their money will stay locally, and they're going to impact a lot of families, that they're going to impact their neighbor, their cousin. 1 out of 3 kids here in El Paso have already been at El Paso Children's Hospital.
Wow.
So whenever you walk at a store, you will be able to see kids walking around, and one of them was already in our doors. So for peeps that are going to be participating, they will be learning that it's more than just having a fun time, but they're also impacting one of those kids.
No. And looking ahead, what are your goals for Children's Miracle Network and the El Paso Children's Hospital Foundation?
My goal is for everybody to recognize it. My goal is for everybody to understand that it's 100% locally charity, that we have a lot more equipment to purchase, that we have a lot more families that eventually, unfortunately, will need it. Um, we hear it every day how statistics of certain diagnosis keeps growing, and we are here to treat them. We're here to help them out. And my goal is to become the best hospital in our city.
And I'm sure that your stories on this podcast have helped inspire people to donate. So what is the best way for people to get involved?
The best way for them to get involved is simply signing up to the golf tournament. No, but as I mentioned, we're always asking for a donation through different corporate partners or local mom and pop shops. So by saying yes, they could easily support by making that donation. It doesn't have to be a big amount. It could be your change on your pocket. It goes a long way. Volunteering, they could help out by that. They could simply help out by making an in-kind donation sometimes during the holidays. And it doesn't have to be during holidays, but it could be throughout the year. They just want to give back to the patients. They could go ahead and reach out to us and say, hey, you know what? I did a drive, and I know that it's not only little ones, but it's also teenagers at the hospital. So here we have something that will help our teenagers at the hospital.
Yeah, that's true, because you serve up to age 18, right?
If not older, all depending on their diagnosis.
Right.
And we think about Children's Hospital and we think, oh, the little ones, but we have a lot of teenagers, and it's just a difficult time for them. So let's not forget about them, and let's think about them also in a way to help them out.
Okay. Well, Alexa, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing more about the incredible work that the Children's Miracle Network and the El Paso Children's Hospital Foundation are doing to support the families in our area.
Thank you, Stephanie, for allowing me to share a little bit more about us.
And we are also honored to have your organization as the beneficiary of this year's MBT Pay It Forward Golf Tournament.
Thank you. We're happy.
And to everyone watching, every child deserves access to exceptional care close to home. And that's why we are proud to support Children's Miracle Network and El Paso Children's Hospital Foundation through this year's MBT Pay It Forward Golf Tournament. Whether you're participating, sponsoring, volunteering, or simply helping spread the word, you're helping make a difference in the lives of children and families throughout our community. To learn more, you can scan the QR code on your screen or visit golf.m-v-t.com to register, become a sponsor, or support the cause. I'm Stephanie Valle, and until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and keep on trucking.